I'm Katie.
I'm Anna.
She's a psychotherapist.
And she runs a photography empire. Together we make music and we podcast.
To encourage ourselves.
And you.
To do the things that scare us most.
Hey everybody. Today we get to talk to Dr. Wenners Ballard, an internal medicine doctor who tells us all about the art in the medical arts, his own creative pursuits, and the scary thing that he's considering right now. We hope you enjoyed this insightful interview as much as we did. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We're super excited to talk to you today, and I was wondering if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. My name is Wenners Ballard. I'm a doctor at Barnes-Jewish Hospital in internal medicine. I just finished residency last year. Right now I'm working as a hospitalist there, kind of just to pay back some student loans and help out my family. And then I'll go on to specialization. Originally moved all over because my mother's in the Army, but most recently out of DC, and been in St. Louis for the past 4 years, for better or for worse. It's a cool city though. It's a cool city, but it's basically
the Lou.
Yeah, the Lou. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you explain what it means that you're a resident, or how is that different from other titles that doctors have in a hospital?
Sure. So right after you graduate medical school, you go into residency. And that kind of is specialty based. So you go into a surgery residency or OBGYN residency. I went to an internal medicine residency. In internal medicine, after you complete that residency, you go on to subspecialization. So that's oncology, meaning cancer, or cardiology, or gastroenterology, that kind of thing. So I just finished residency last year, and I'm working as just an internal medicine physician. So you don't have to specialize. Like, I could just keep doing this, but I do eventually want to go back to specialization. So yeah, so a resident is just kind of in between your medical school and your completion as a full physician practicing on your own, basically.
How long were you in school?
Man, how much time do you have?
I want to hear all about it.
So undergrad is 4 years. And then I did a master's degree in cancer, and that was 1 year. And then medical school is 4 years. So a total of 9 years in school. And then if you residency, you do get paid a little bit, but it's still training. So residency was 3 years. So that's a total of 12 total since I finished high school. So 12 years since high school, yeah.
Wow.
That stresses me out.
A little bit, I know, right? It's crazy. It's insane.
It's sobering, for sure.
Yeah. What was that like? Did you decide right after high school that you were going to go all the way through that? Or what were the thought process leading up to that?
In high school, I kind of talked to Ann about this before. Like, I was kind of on the edge. I wasn't sure about if I did want to become a physician. I thought maybe something in music or like something creative. And then my thought process was I just kind of wanted to do something every day where I wasn't thinking about myself and I just had to think about somebody else, and it was challenging, and I could also provide for my family with it, and medicine kind of checked off all those boxes. That was my decision when I was much younger. And then after that, it kind of just came naturally, and I took to it and I loved it, and it was just like a snowball effect and became a really easy thing to keep moving forward with.
You had that intermediate step of a master's basically in cancer. What sort of played into that decision? Because that's an interesting specialty for a master's.
Yeah. It's kind of just like luck of the draw. I mean, well, not luck of the draw, but just serendipity, I guess I should say. So like in undergrad, I applied to this program where they just put you in any random research program, and somehow I got put in their cancer research program. And then that same summer, my father got diagnosed with multiple myeloma.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I wasn't really sure at that point what kind of physician I wanted to be. But I got put in the cancer program. My dad got diagnosed. And then right after undergrad, I wanted to do something before I went into med school. And so I found this basically cancer master's program at Georgetown, and that's why I applied to that.
Yeah, that's super interesting. There's like a very personal element for you.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Was there a time through any of it that you just weren't sure you'd be able to make it through to completion?
For sure. Definitely. Yeah, 100%. It was, it's just such a heavy workload a lot of the time, you know? And a lot of people do decide that they don't want to go forward with it. Around the same time, my dad got diagnosed with cancer. My grandmother actually got diagnosed with cancer too. And she kind of raised me a lot. The last thing that she knew was that I was going to do this. And, you know, she told me that, she was really proud of it. And I just couldn't see myself like, giving up on that at that point, you know, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of like doubt and things along the way. Can I really do this? And stuck with it. Worked out.
So med school is as hard as it sounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And more. Yeah, for sure.
And more. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you said something earlier that kind of struck me in an interesting way when you were trying to decide what you wanted to pursue, and you sort of set it up like, you know, thought about med school and you thought about doing something creative, almost like those are two different things. And I just wonder if you see medicine as creative or how that works.
It actually is creative. You know, it is like a quote unquote art. Like that's why they call it the practice of medicine, because it's not really all laid out for you. And there is room for creativity along the way. The only difference is that you can't really be creative at baseline. You have to kind of gather a lot of information before you can start to do creative things. You kind of have to form a very strong foundation in what's already understood before you can go on and kind of like start making your own ideas and, you know, hypotheses. Whereas like music or acting or something, it's kind of, it kind of just flows naturally. You know, like a child could be a fantastic musician and actor and doesn't have to lay any kind of groundwork or foundation. So they're creative in different ways, I guess.
That's interesting. Like thinking about the different levels, right? Like you're saying you have to have some kind of a baseline. You can't just think out of the box without knowing what the box is.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Like, I mean, there are like, I guess, savants out there that can kind of just get it. But for the most part in medicine, you do kind of have to understand what's already out there to come up with a new therapy or something like that, you know?
Right. There's no question at all that science is a huge part of it, and like science and art are a blend in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is an interesting perspective. We use the scientific definition of creativity a lot. That's problem solving.
Okay.
And I can't imagine the amount of times in a day that I'm sure you're having to problem solve using the knowledge you've learned or any tools at your disposal, I suppose.
Yeah, you're right. In that capacity for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounds like you do have a dose of the sort of artistic side of creativity too.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always just been a big fan of really music and movies and I guess television to a certain extent, but music in a big way ever since I was a kid. Played the saxophone since the 4th grade. What a nerd,
Nice.
right? Classic nerd. He's marching band and everything. I know.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I'm nerdier than you, but that
What year
remains
did
to be
you
seen.
start?
Well, I started in 5th grade, but I played low brass. Like, that's
played
so
low
much
brass.
nerdier than saxophone.
Okay, low breath. Okay, like what? What did you play?
Like euphonium, trombone.
Euphonium and trombone. You do beat me in that case. You do.
What's up?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, 100%. You got me on that one. I have to.
Saxophones are like kind of cool.
They
right?
are kind of cool. Yeah.
And they know it. And they know it too.
They know it. Yeah.
I'm sure you have just tons of free time these days. Do you still play at all?
I play the piano every now and then. I don't. My saxophone got stolen many, many years ago, unfortunately. So I don't have my saxophone anymore. But there's a piano in the med school that I'll like go and mess around on, and I have a keyboard at my house in DC. I need to go back and get, but. And I used to produce music pretty like heavily in high school and college. For people. So I still mess around with that kind of from time to time when I do get a chance, which is like once every couple months, if that or something, unfortunately. But yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. Do you feel like you have an ideal balance in your life of those different things that you're interested in, or would you like to see the balance shift in some way?
Definitely not an ideal balance right now. I'm working a lot, and I would like to see it balance out a little bit more, which I think it will in the future, but it's not ideal right now. But I think I have to make time for it. I've recognized that it's a part of me, and everything else kind of does better when I do like recognize other parts of me as well. So yeah, I will have to definitely make room for it.
So you've lived a lot of different places, and, you've gone to several different schools and kind of, established yourself in a few different areas of the country at different times. And I'm just wondering what it's like for you to connect with people and find a community where you are. Like, have you been able to build a good community of people in St. Louis?
I have. Like, it's because residency is such like a rigorous thing. You're kind of like in situations with people that kind of cause you to form stronger bonds. So I'm cool with a lot of the people that I was in residency with here, and we hang out with a decent amount. And I got a couple of friends that I just met around the way, like that aren't from residency, like through either church or through like volunteering or something like that. So yeah, I do got a decent little community, which I'm thankful for, because it's hard to do when you don't got a lot of free time making friends and stuff.
So going into something like cancer, and you mentioned already having like a very personal bond to that. I think it goes without saying that's got to be emotionally draining work. What have been some of the most challenging and or rewarding parts of that for you personally?
Yeah. So this is something I'm still like learning actively. Being on the oncology ward, we don't get to do it year round. So it's only like a rotation I'm able to do, for every couple weeks or something like that. But I guess one of the most challenging things is always dealing with, pain and suffering, of course, and then death. I guess statistically, 40% of the cancer patients you treat will always die, sooner than you expect it, unfortunately. I think the most challenging aspect is watching somebody suffer or be in pain, and then also having to tell them that, things might not work out, or having to tell the family that, or, having to tell the family, we're not going to be able to do chemotherapy anymore, or that if we keep doing certain things, we may prolong their suffering. I think those are the most like challenging things. But at the same time, I guess some of the most rewarding things are sometimes people do pull through. And then even when people aren't able to pull through, I guess making them comfortable and trying to make as big of a difference as you can in them. And also just seeing like, really strong people. Like, I don't know, you deal with like small things in your life that really like can get to you, like,
yeah,
when you're like just going through life every day and you have your health, you forget to charge your phone overnight and you're just like pissed in the morning or something. I don't know. Or like, you're like traffic is upsetting you, or somebody says something kind of rude to you and it just kind of like ruins your day. And then you see these people with like tubes and like pain and all this stuff, and they're still kind of like, they're still like nice, and they find happiness somehow.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, just kind of always like recenters me, and it's like, man, it's a strong thing. And not every patient can do that, but some patients do, and it's just like, man, the human spirit is like very strong. I've had patients like ask me like, after we finish talking about their history, they'll be like, but how are you doing? It's like, I'm just like, oh my God.
Aww.
And then forming connections with families, which is also like a rewarding thing as well. So they say one thing about oncology is that it's high risk because of all the emotional things that go on, but it's also high reward because of things like that as well. So,
do you ever see other people who work with you on that floor, or other doctors, or anybody who's kind of interacting with patients in that way? Do you ever see them like burn out really badly or get like really affected by all that?
I think a lot of people hide it. I've seen it a few times. I think it kind of manifests itself in different ways. Like when you see like doctor shows on TV, I guess like you see people like, I don't know, crying in the call room or something like that, or like, I don't know, they get into like a big blowout fight. But I think in real life, it manifests itself as like people just becoming like numb and kind of like cold, like kind of cutting themselves off. And I think I do see that. I think I do see people becoming disconnected because that's the only way for them to move forward, I guess. I don't know.
It is so exhausting emotionally to just like interface with other people's pain all the time, day in and day out like that. And I think it would be very natural for people to sort of become jaded. That's like part of the challenge, right? To sort of stay soft, but also you do have to like protect yourself somehow. So that's got to be a struggle.
Yeah, it is. I think it is a struggle. But I have seen physicians that do find a balance in that I really admire and stay happy and stay positive. I think part of that is realizing you do everything you can do, And then, you can't blame yourself or blame other things when things don't always go the way you wanted them to. So kind of keeping that realistic perspective, I think, helps. But yeah, I would never want to become like a cut off, disconnected, jaded, because that removes a lot of the reward. And then you're just, stuck with, all the hardships of it.
Yeah, that's true. Because when you numb out the bad, you numb out the good. So
yeah.
And then why are you there? What are you even doing?
Right.
So
right.
Ugh.
Well, yeah, and when you were saying, how difficult it is to go to people and kind of tell them, okay, this is your course of care, or this is what could happen, and it's if you're just dwelling on the bad, I'm sure you're kind of removing the hope for them as well.
Yeah, and they can feel that somehow. Either they hear it in your voice or see it in your face. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I know. It strikes me as such a huge responsibility, It's I'm really glad that, at least you, I can't speak for every doctor ever, but you definitely seem to take that really seriously and really, filter all of that through the lens of caring for your patients. And that's really important, because I think you're right, Katie, if that connection's not there, or even the awareness about, I don't know, the emotional sensitivity of it, if you don't have that, it's really going to translate in a bad way to people. So good job for having it. Keep it up.
And I know you said you're sort of, new on the journey still. Mm-hmm. Has it so far been kind of what you expected? Has it been easier, harder, more rewarding, not as rewarding?
Definitely more rewarding than I thought it would be. Definitely not easier than expected, for sure. But it's been more rewarding than I thought it would be, for sure.
Do you see it being something that you'll stick it out for your whole career in oncology specifically?
Yeah, that's something I was debating if I wanted to, make sure. At first, for a while there, I was definitely dead set on doing oncology. And then in the middle of residency, I was kind of maybe, I should think about other things. But recently I've been, much, much more focused on just pursuing oncology and doing a fellowship in that.
It sort of goes back to something you said earlier, too. Medicine checked all these boxes for you in terms of, one of the boxes was, doing something where you can really focus on other people all the time and not be sort of self-interested or think about yourself. And I'm really curious about that, why that was so important to you and how you can reconcile that with your own passion and you living your life.
So my dad was community activist and worked in the Salvation Army and these inner city groups, these for kids and things like that. And he's always super, super happy guy, amazing life of the party dude, right? And I just kind of feel the reason why he's so happy is because he's, dedicated so much of his life to other people. So even though it's you're I'm doing it because I want to focus on other people and not my own self-interest, it is kind of my self-interest too, because it is kind of I do have my happiness in mind with that. I am happiest when I'm helping other people for whatever reason. I've just noticed that, when I'm doing things strictly for myself, it's never as fulfilling as when I'm doing something for somebody else. As corny as that sounds, but it's that's really the main reason.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And it actually reminds me, as a counselor working with depression, that's a huge factor where, not that people who are depressed are selfish, that's not what I'm saying, but there is a real self-focus that comes with depression that most people, they have trouble getting outside of it, they're just always very aware of how depressed they are. And they're trying to constantly think about, what's going on? How can I fix this? Why am I depressed? And I encourage people who are depressed to go and have an experience where they're forced to be pulled out of themselves and sort of they're forced to focus on someone else and meeting someone else's needs or making someone else's day, just because it gives you a break from that, And I think the way you're describing it, it's not as much a remedy to depression specifically, but it's a lifestyle of this is a path to a fulfilling life. There's a happiness and a fulfillment that comes from that, kind of no matter what you're doing, the details aren't as important.
Right.
So many people have jobs or careers or passions that do involve helping people, right? Why is that like the standard Miss America answer? Like, what do you want to do? Like, world peace. I want to help people, you know? But there's something to that.
Yeah.
It really is some of the secret sauce is when you feel like you are making an impact in a positive way for other people. So
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I love the self-awareness that you had to say that. I know that it's going to make me happy too. And I think, I mean, the whole answer you gave was a very selfless answer because, yeah, I mean, I think everybody would look at doctors and other people in kind of a community helping, you know, service career and would say like, well, you do so much for other people, you know, but I think that's really cool that it does give something to you as well. I mean, I think that's probably very important for longevity.
And it's fair. Like, I have definitely met people who are like, I want to be called doctor. That's my reason. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you've run into those personalities, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they exist.
You've never met any of those people.
No. Right.
But yeah, it's like, you can totally be in a helping field for some really ulterior reasons, you know, but yeah.
That's true. That's true. I've dealt with depression myself, actually. And like, I've realized that just like you said, like helping other people is like one of the main remedies for it. Like one of the main things I found have worked. I think there's just something intrinsically about the human brain that is just, it's built so that community is an important thing. You get like some endorphin hit whenever you really do something for other people. And so kind of like, you know, I'm sure you deal with like SSRIs and stuff like antidepressants and stuff for people. The way they work is, you know, preventing serotonin from getting sucked back up into the wrong places, basically. And so I think, you know, whenever you do help people, you do get that hit of like serotonin and other things that kind of, I don't know, relieve some of the depression symptoms. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
So listeners, there is science behind that
I know. I love that. We got the clinical explanation.
Yeah.
The other part of that I was going to say, though, is that I love how you said earlier that when you're doing different artistic crafts, so maybe focusing on the music that you have a background in or what have you, that you can tell it's a part of yourself as well. And I think that's something we try to, you know, always encourage people to, you know, we hope you love your day job. We hope whatever your job is very fulfilling. But if there are other parts of you that, you know, are in there and that you think are important, like how can we make and find time, you know, to give attention to that too. So love that even with all your busyness, you're making that a priority as well.
Yeah. It's, I almost like can't help it. Like I have to do something like, musically related. Like I'm just kind of drawn to it for whatever. I'll be trying to study something medical and then like, an hour into it, somehow I'm reading some music article on like some band or something, you know, like how did I get here? I don't even know how. Yeah, but
I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're like, crap, back to the endoplasmic reticulum. I was supposed to be. I just like saying that phrase.
You sounded so smart.
I'll say it again. Endoplasmic reticulum. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about. So as someone who has gone to school for forever, something that most people wouldn't think about doing.
Yes.
Or conquered a career that is very challenging and hard. What scares you?
Number one fear is podcasts. No, I'm just kidding.
You're doing great.
You are doing good.
What scares me? I think there's other things, but I think the root of it is just like judgment from other people. Sometimes like public speaking or something like that. Even though I do it a decent amount, I have to do public speaking things every now and then, but that still can make me a little nervous. And the root of that is just like judgment from other people. But outside of that, cats really scared? No, I'm just kidding. No.
Rightly so.
What about you guys? Yeah. Do you guys have you must have.
Oh, we have tons.
Yeah, we make a point of like living in terror all the time.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really great. Our scary thing that sort of has started this whole podcast and everything was writing music and recording it. And
then telling people about it.
Yeah. I mean, we were like kind of big chickens about our own music for a long time. I hope it's okay that I included you in my big chicken statement. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we were both big chickens. Mm-hmm. Real big chickens. And we just decided, like, we sort of discovered that we had this in common. That became Jasper and Jade. And then also, you know, parallel to that was kind of the podcast where we were like, wow, if we can encourage other people to do those kind of scary things that are so worth it. And so like Katie was saying, like part of who we are that is kind of unexpressed and unattended to, then that would be awesome if we could encourage other people that way and keep ourselves accountable to continuing, like I said, to live in terror, just to keep doing the scary things.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's kind of what it means to us to be doing a scary thing, you know?
But we've loved hearing from everybody. You know, everybody's answer is different. As long as we're all kind of leaning into that tension and not letting it stop us, I think is the main thing.
Yeah.
I loved what you said as far as being afraid of what everybody thinks. Oh my gosh. Like that's huge for so many people. Yeah, why were we scared to share our music with people? Why would we be scared to sing in front of people? It's what are people going to think? The fear of that is terrible.
For sure. I'm going to blow your cover a little bit. Something that you and I have talked about is that you want to do like an improv class.
Yeah.
And what is that if it's not public speaking? Right?
That's so true. You know, improv classes, though, I find that you're in a space with people that are tend to be more open-minded and less judgmental. The people that take those kind of classes, I've found, you know, I've done it like twice before, and it's always, you know, usually a very welcome environment, or else like, I don't know, just people that are going to be judgmental and kind of fold their arms and stand in the corner and judge usually don't go to those kind of things. So, yeah, I do want to do one of those things. You did blow my cover, Anna.
Sorry, not sorry.
No.
What is it about that you're wanting to do? Is it to get over that fear, or is it something else?
It's just something that I've always kind of liked. Like, I did like some acting in like high school and stuff, and I just really enjoyed that. And I don't know, improv it's just a way to like, I don't know, reach into the corners of your brain that you can't do by yourself and in other ways. Because like thinking on the spot in front of other people in random situations, it's hard to mimic that in any other like realm in life. So you can really, I don't know, you can find different things. It's like a discovering exercise kind of.
It sounds terrifying to me.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
It sounds fun, but terrifying.
Yeah.
I can imagine that everybody else there is like, it's a little bit of like the golden rule, right? Like they're not going to be mean and judge you because they're about to go stand up and do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's a good point, and I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, you're right.
Wow.
You're right. It is kind of scary, but you realize quickly that nobody like is putting pressure on you to be funny, and people just love the fact that you're there and you're participating, and that's kind of cool, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I still need to find one. I still need to do it. I'm going to do it though, for sure.
Well, now you have to.
I know, now I have to. And you put me out there.
And that's why I'm not sorry for blowing your cover.
And they have lots in Atlanta if you need that info ever.
I love Atlanta.
Yes.
I love
he
Atlanta.
loves Atlanta. We're in Atlanta right now.
Man.
Yeah. I actually have thought about doing stand-up. It's like too scary for me to think about. No, I mean, not doing it, but like doing a class like you're saying.
I was about to say, like, do you have jokes lined up? I was like, you got jokes?
No. Anyway, I meant doing the class.
Yeah, there are fun comedy clubs in Atlanta, though.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It
It
seems
stresses
like
me
it.
out just thinking about it. Like, my heart is like pounding.
Uh-oh.
You're like, I'm sweating.
Uh-oh, I think we found something you have to lean into now.
Right. Well, if you sign up for a class in Atlanta, we'll
Wenners just going to sign you up.
Right.
He's going to be like, here's the time.
I know,
Oh,
right?
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for people that do that. I can't
Yeah.
imagine, really.
Yeah, me too.
But,
Yeah. So being a doctor is, a very socially respectable job, and, it can be like a secure job, and it's very scientific, and, like you're saying, there is a lot of art and it's a practice, and maybe that's not the side of it that we're really thinking about when we compare these things. But like, we have a friend who's a professional musician, and he was describing how, he sometimes finds himself having to like explain to people, or I don't know if he really does explain to them or if this is just his thought process, but he's saying, well, hey, if I had spent 12 years in school to be a doctor, like, you would respect like how far I've come and what I'm doing. He's working it that hard, and he's been working hard at it for like, over a decade. And just how in kind of like music or the arts, people kind of think, well, like if you're not an instant success, which literally doesn't exist, then you should probably just like hang it up and go get a day job. Whereas when people are pursuing something like law school or med school that takes many years and like tons of money and sometimes a lot of debt or whatever, it's like, oh, but that's okay because you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. So anyway, it's just like that kind of discrepancy. And I think that's just, you know, his go-to example to help people understand, like, no, I'm doing this as a career just the same way that a doctor would have to go to so much school and pay so much money to do that and pay your dues and get paid nothing in residency and blah, blah, blah. So like, what do you think about that?
They're two different paths to mastery. And I think the discrepancy that you're talking about is just like a societal thing that's like incorrect. I think it really does. It kind of like plays into people's fears, right? So I think when people say that, like, if you're not like an instant success or something like that, or, you know, it'd be much better if you were a doctor or a lawyer, or like you had a secure like source of income or whatever, and like society looks highly upon that. I think that's people projecting their own fears onto other people. Because there's a part of us that just always wants to be like safe, you know, like a little squirrel, like go gather your nuts and like go bury them and make sure you have enough for the winter because you don't want to starve to death. Yeah, so I think that all kind of comes from people's fears and, you know, parents, you know, wanting to make sure their kids are like okay and things like that. And that all just stems from fear and not really from people wanting to like take a step forward and really like do what it means to live life, right? Because like life isn't all about just making sure you live, right? Like people can be alive on like a ventilator for like years, right? But that doesn't mean they're actually like alive, quote unquote. So I think it's kind of the same thing. You can do any job and be okay, but are you actually like living? And if like art is your truth and you spent 12 years doing it and you're like now a professional doing it and you love what you do, it doesn't matter if you have like a platinum selling record, you know, you're living life. I do get that. A lot of times when people like, I'll meet somebody's parents like, oh, you're a doctor. You know, and then like, you know,
round of applause.
Right, round of applause. You know. But then there's a part of me that's kind of like envious of like the artist thing. Cause I think that's rebellious and brave and like courageous, right? And anything that's like courageous, like I'm all about, you know? So like, I'm like envious of that because I know society does is like, oh, cool, doctor, hooray. And it's like safe, you know? I love it and it's my truth, but like anybody that's willing to go out there and do what their truth is, like I'm going to applaud them. So, yeah.
And I think a lot of artists envy the safety. And that's sincere, you know? Like, so enjoy that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, but I love what you said. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and like two sides of that. I think they envy the kind of like whatever the sense of like actual job security and stability that comes from having a job like that, just like logistically, but then also the perceived sense of security that everyone else like gives you. You get to just enjoy that, you know? It's like a basis of acceptance and
interesting. I didn't think about that. The grass is greener kind of thing.
At the end of your 12 years, and you probably knew in the beginning, okay, it's 12 years unless I flunk a class or something, you know, but it's probably going to be 12 years. And at the end of that, probably I'm going to have a job, you know? And so I think the scary part to a lot of artists is I could do this 12 years and be right here. You know, I don't really have a guarantee of anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's, yeah, I get that. And that's like, I guess I can't really say like, at the same time, facing that fear is like a huge, like, it's just an amazing thing to me. And I think a lot of people don't do that. You know, I think everybody doesn't pursue their dream or everybody isn't bold enough to do what you guys did. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So did anybody ever tell you not to try to be a doctor?
Yeah.
Anybody try to talk you out of it? Really?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I had a high school teacher that tried to talk me out of doing it. Yeah. And then,
what was their reasoning?
Not great reasoning. She just was like, maybe it's not like your strength. You know, a lot of people want to do things like that and, you know, don't do it and that kind of thing. But yeah. And
just
then,
like scale it down a little. That's too big of a goal. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's not dream big,
right,
children.
Right. Back to earth now. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so disturbing. Thanks for sharing that because I really am surprised by that answer.
So, because you're all about the courageous and people doing brave stuff, what would you say to somebody who is contemplating taking a step into doing something courageous? Maybe they're just starting their scary thing, or they're trying to take the next step in the middle of it. What advice would you give them?
My advice to them would be, bottom line is, if it's something that you're passionate about, if it's something that when you are honest with yourself, if you remove everything else in the world, you're the last person on earth, nothing else, no other external factors contributing to your decision. If you still want to do it, if it's something that's true to you and you're honest about it, do it. Bottom line is just do it, because you're going to be happier at the end of the day. I deal with a lot of people at the end of life, like we talked about earlier. I mean, a lot of older people. And you will never hear somebody say, I regret taking that leap. That was the leap that did me in. I should have never done that thing. Nobody will ever say that. Yeah. But people will always say, I wonder if I had done that. You know, I wonder what if something had happened. And I feel like that's one of the worst things. You know, you can live with it, but that's one of the worst things. And so I'd rather say, I took this leap and I fell, but I took it. And like, you'll always have like a sense of, you know, pride and self-worth about that and happiness in that, rather than, what if I had, you know, what could have been. So on the other side of that fear is something beautiful, whether it's success or just living your truth. There's something beautiful on the other side of that. So like, do it, you know, do it.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I know. Sometimes it's a cool scar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man.
Like this gnarly scar.
You got a scar?
That was right. I know. I thought you said scarf at first too. I was like, really?
Sometimes it's just cool.
Extra random, but yeah.
It's a cool scarf.
I mean,
could be a box of scarves. You never know. Yeah.
A whole box.
A whole box of
bedazzled. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Jasper.
Tie-dye. Yeah.
So one more question about scary things. Was being on a podcast as scary as you thought it would be?
Nah, because you guys are amazing. No, because you guys are great. Because you guys are great interviewers and you guys are cool people. So it wasn't that bad at all. It was fun. It was super fun.
Bad.
No, it wasn't that bad.
I was still like nervous at first, but no, this was like fun. Like I would do this again.
Awesome.
This was really cool.
Good.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you have a second, head over to Spotify to listen to our brand new playlist called Friends and Faves. Check out our show notes for that and other helpful info. See you next week.
You guys' music is incredible, man. I was about to cuss. How long did it like take you to do a song like Deathbed?
Wait. We're interviewing you.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry. You're right.
I'm just kidding.